Lopatina from Unstructured.
Here, this code, here's where we're seeing which answer column to look for in the data frame based on the model version that we set earlier. And I'll note that this notebook right now is set up only for Hugging Face models. So if you wanted to try other models, you would need to make more tweaks to the RAG system setup plus the prompt. Answers would get generated, and this takes about half an hour to run to get each question from the locally running Llama 3. And I'm not going to save it now because we already are running the saved one. And yeah, I guess, okay, now it's going through the question here, a quick check of the RAG system. And we just wanted to see, like, did the answer seem reasonable? So yeah, we're not regenerating those answers, but here we are going to run our whole evaluation. So here we're kind of processing the data from the data frame where we were storing or all of our evaluation data. So we just need the questions, ground truth, answer, and context. And we're also dropping null values because those will break the evaluation pipeline here. We're reformatting the data into a dictionary list, and then we're setting the specific metrics that we want for the evaluation. And then, and this is where we would run through this whole flow. So since I ran through this notebook a few times before, I already had the questions saved from Llama 3 and Llama 3.1. And this will save this will go over here. There's null answers that are removed. So this is not actually factored into the metrics, but I'm just like printing it here for reference, because if you put the null answers in, the pipeline won't work. So for Llama 3, there were 11 null responses removed. So actually the metrics should be even worse because of those, but they were not factored in. So I guess that's one drawback to the RAG-S framework, but yeah. So we basically then run this data set transformation plus evaluation pipeline for each of the models. So it takes about a minute or two to run for each one. And Llama 3.1 had no null values, which is another plus to that model. And then I just print the results. And these are what I had calculated from an earlier run using tabulate to make the table look a little nicer. And so the context precision and context recall, I'm not putting a ton of stock into those because I think those are based a lot on the context that GPT-4 was picking. And I think I had a short chunk size. So I think I haven't really put a lot of stock into those metrics in interpreting the evaluation, but there are noticeable jumps in faithfulness, some improvement in answer relevancy, and then the answer similarity and correctness looked really improved. And then one other thing I wanted to note, that's just a fun aside about working with language models this day and age. So I created this notebook in May, and then I had rerun it with some minor changes earlier this month. And I had initial metrics for Llama 3 that were much better. And honestly, from my subjective evaluation, didn't really line up with what I was seeing. I thought the responses were not that great. And then when I reran it, there was a major drop in faithfulness in answer relevancy. And this is just rerunning literally the same code with Llama 3 and just several months later, and not really changing much in the notebook. Nothing that would affect that evaluation. And so I'm going to guess that there was either better question answer generation by GPT-4o or better evaluation by it, since that was likely updated, or there was an update to the evaluation flow by RAG-S. But actually, I find this notebook to be much more useful from the first time I ran it, because I think that these metrics now, they reflect my subjective evaluation much more closely. So yeah, not the first time I made a notebook and it worked better months later without my having done anything, but that's just a fun thing about developing with language models this day and age. So yeah, that's kind of the notebook flow.